Imagine a place where the sun is hot, the streets are noisy. Imagine the place where the boys are children and boyhood is naughty. Imagine the place where a boy hates to go to school and a tiger wants to. Imagine the place where the sweets are sold at every shop and stories are cooked at every corner. And it does not exist. It's an imagination where children live, and the imagination that lives in children. The Malgudi. Welcome to the Bookbibuli podcast. It is all-time classic. We are going to talk today, The Malgudi Days by R.K. Narayan. A land of stories. A land just in stories. A book. A collection of short stories. 32 set in the British era. Published before we were free from colonialism in 1943. That's being over 80 now, but still a child. Never to go old. The fictional town, Malgudi, got its name on an intuition which sparked in the head of R.K. Narayan. One fine September morning, and it became to remain forever. Seen through the eyes of Swami, a 10-year-old, living, being a child in the 1930s in the sleepy South Indian town. Mischief, friendship, adventures, guns, sweets, and happiness. Everyday life, narrated in simple tales which refuse to leave the head. And we have Avyan with us today. From Malgudi, yes. We will try to live in that land through his words, his imagination. A land made of words. We will try to listen in to the stories the streets of Malgudi whispered. The stories that the children played. The stories that place wrote by the virtue of being or not being. Avyan, please turn the time back and take us away from ourselves to the land of happiness. But before that, do please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Avyan Mathur. I study in 7th grade of Sun City School, Sector 37D in Gurugram. I have a whole lot of hobbies. I like to play drums and piano, singing, playing basketball, skating, running, and chess. I also like to do go-karting and cubing. I love to read and play video games too. Now, let's get on with it.
So you know that Malgudi isn't a real place on a map. R.K. Narayan actually built the town in his head, and he spent the next 60 years adding streets, shops, and schools to it. If you could pause the present and step into a fictional world, what would be your Malgudi?
I think that we can all agree that the Malgudi that R.K. Narayan built was complete and content in itself. But if I was asked if I could make a Malgudi of my own, I would have loved to. I would like it to be more city-like. As we can see, more like read, in the stories, Swami is not very proud of his surroundings and often gets jealous towards Rajam, who is rich. It would also be great if we could have well-built libraries and schools, as people are often uneducated in the villages. I could also add a well-developed transport system in the village. In conclusion, I would like to make the village an educated and urbanized sort of area, though it would take away the old, simple life, the magicful vibe that the stories built around themselves.
Well, that's interesting. The character of Swami was loosely based on Narayan's own childhood memories and the kids he saw playing in the streets of Bangalore. And like most of us who try to be good, I bet he did too. But Swami is always getting into some kind of hilarious trouble. Was he actually a bad kid, or was he just a kid, bored and misunderstood by the grown-ups? And also, do you have a Swami in you, Avyan?
Swami was by no means a bad kid. He was a bit restless and very much misunderstood by his school teachers, his friends, and even his parents. We can very much see in the book. Sometimes he gets bullied, but then, after a lot of twists and turns, the situation is back to normal again. And sometimes even better, like a new friend. He sometimes procrastinates and doesn't like to do work and has a rebellious sort of mind. And that I share mostly all the qualities I mentioned about Swami right now. So I can say we have a lot in common.
Mother had been abed for 2 days past. Swaminathan missed her very much in the kitchen and felt uncomfortable without her attentions. Unlike his father, a figure of authority and discipline over Swami, his mother is a figure of comfort, domesticity, and attention. When she is bedridden, pregnant with his little brother, he becomes cold, reserved, and disheveled without her attentions. No one can replace a mother. Did it stir you when Swami sulks and feel abandoned by his mother?
Yes, it does feel a bit bad when Swami feels like he's been abandoned by his mother and nobody is giving attention to him. In this context, Swami can't really understand what's going on all around him and feels lost in all the commotion around him in the house.
Swaminathan gasped with astonishment. In spite of his posing before money, he admired Rajam intensely and longed to be his friend. Now, this was the happiest conclusion to all the unwanted trouble. He danced with joy. Rajam lowered his gun and Mani dropped his club. To show his goodwill, Rajam pulled out of this pocket half a dozen biscuits. And that's friendship for you. The beginning of including Rajam in that bond. That's 3. If you would have been there, Avyan, would you have loved to be the 4th pillar of this friendship?
Yes, it would have been great if I could be friends with Swami and Rajam and Mani, the way they get along and fit together with the perfect elements to make a very wonderful trio. Though I would love to add to it with my personality to make the plots even more colorful.
Every pore in Swaminathan's body burnt with the touch of the cane. He had a sudden flood of courage, the courage that comes of desperation. He restrained the tears that were threatening to rush out, jumped down, and grasping his books, rushed out, muttering, "I don't care for your dirty school." He bought freedom from oppression. But later he felt like an outcast, seeing his friends' names on the walls of the school. Do you think the price was too high?
The headmaster of Albert Mission School had beaten him with his cane because he hadn't come to school on a previous day when there was a protest held on the streets of Malgudi against the British. A man had also said that there was no school today for the students. The headmaster thought otherwise. He said that we should not have believed him and went anyways. Then he beat everybody who had been absent. Swami found this unfair and rebelled against this and left the school in his anger. Later, he regretted his actions and felt remorseful to his decisions and didn't like his new school at all. It disturbed his new cricket practice and he didn't like their teaching too.
Swaminathan quailed with shame. "Oh, I didn't notice," he said, and removing his cap, flung it into the fire with a feeling that he was saving his country. Only to find out later it was made of kaddar, the Indian fabric, Swadeshi. Although the book has been written in English, but it remains Indian in sentiment. Did it churn your emotions on the life we lived during colonialism?
Yes, some stories in the book remind us of India's treacherous past when we were colonized by British rule. And I find it greatly comforting that R.K. Narayan depicts Swami as helping India gain its freedom. It would have been wonderful if this town was real. In stories like Broken Pains, it is shown how oppressive the British regime was on India, and it truly did stir me. It feels great to be independent once more.
The animals of Malgudi are human. Well, as human as it can get, in their thoughts, their feelings, clothed in a different skin. R.K. Narayan has treated the animals humanely. Shall we not learn from him?
Yes, we very much should. And that is a great question which you've asked. In the recent past and present, poaching and hunting animals was a common practice, and animals were viewed as mere objects for humans to kill just for quote unquote fun. R.K. Narayanan writes some of his stories in some perspective of animals that makes us practically feel their emotions to develop a strange sense of connection. I truly appreciate the work he's done on this.
R.K. Narayan wrote in English, but simple English. He did not use big fancy words. He wanted to tell stories. Stories that felt like a friend's voice in your ears. And I think that was the greatest part of it. Was simple exceptional?
Yes, and magnificently so. R.K. Narayanan's simple language helps even the youngest of people who struggle to read can understand. And I truly love this factor of his books. Some writers today, like Ruskin Bond and Sudha Murthy, all use simple language that makes you feel at home while reading it. And you also don't have to stop at every sentence to pick up your dictionary to look up a word meaning.
Thank you so much, Avyan, for being with us today. It's always a pleasure to have these conversations with you. The fictional town, Malgudi, got its name on a spark of intuition, which lighted in the head of R.K. Narayan one fine September morning, and it became forever. Seen through the eyes of Swami, like I told you earlier, it's the everyday life which is narrated in simple tales. It's the tales of mundane that makes the stories of this collection. It is the testament to the beauty of ordinary everyday life, which most of us refuse to notice in the pursuit of extraordinary. It reminds us what we deny to ourselves, to embrace the allure of existence. The tales are also a reflection of India of the times, struggling, fighting, resisting for its independence from the oppressive colonial rule, evidenced in a subtle undercurrent of the cultural, political, and social shifts similar to the happenings in the larger nation. The stories make us feel, make us exist in the existence. The stories allow us to savor the emotions, the conflicts, the desires we bake in the course of being, to relish the drifts and flow of human relationships, the meshing of the interrelations, to leave us awed by the simplicity. This was a self-publication, not by choice. R.K. Narayan was compelled to, as he was cut off from England due to World War II and needed an outlet for his works. He started the printing press, Indian Thought Publication, and which is, even today, managed by his granddaughter Minnie. Later, the book was released internationally by Penguin Classics in 1982, extending the pleasure to readers across the world. A timeless classic, established in its status beyond time and geography. The book has seen 2 TV adaptations in 1986 and 2004, which were equally well received as the book. Rasipuram Krishnaswamy Narayan Swamy. Okay, I think I'd better get back to R.K. Narayan. It's way easier. He was one of the leading authors of early Indian literature in English, along with Mulk Raj Anand and Raja Rao. Author to more than 200 novels, as well as short stories and plays. His work highlights the social context and everyday life of his characters, often in between traditional life and modernity. In a career that spanned over 60 years, Narayan received many awards and honors, including the A.C. Benson Medal from the Royal Society of Literature, the Padma Vibhushan and the Padma Bhushan, the Sahitya Academy Fellowship. He was made honorary member of the American Academy and Institute of Arts and Letters. He was also nominated to the Rajya Sabha, and he deserved all of them. And now it's time for Bookbibuli Read Reco. I think the language competency would be 6 on comfort with the language, but 8 on comprehension. The concept is philosophical. Required speed of reading, at least 50 pages per day. But it can be read within 2 to 3 days with or without breaks. Though it will take a lot longer to assimilate, the book is wireframed on neologisms and euphemisms. There is no sexual content, no substance abuse, and it's not even dystopia. The books that come after this would be Satyajit Ray's Feluda series, which are an exceptional read again. So until next week, happy reading!